Hey, this is the Nucleus quarterly product update, but we're going to spend some time giving you a update on the product, the business and whatnot. And we have two special people here to walk you through that. Awesome. So we have Scott Kuffer, founder and COO of Nucleus, and Nick Soegono from the product team, product manager, who are going to talk about some of the wonderful things regarding business updates, product updates, and then future roadmap. And we'll have some time towards the end for Q&A. So Scott, Nick, are you ready to get started?
Let's go. Sweet. Well, you're making me sound way more special than I am, Patrick. But thank you, I appreciate it. What we're going to talk about today is, again, like all of these, we try to keep them pretty short and to the point, and only give you the quality content that you look for, because we know that everybody's busy. We're just trying to make sure that we're obviously really polite with your time. But you know, when Patrick said some people were in Florida, what he meant was that both Nick and I were both in Florida, and so without either of us, we couldn't make it. So I mean, I actually contemplated calling in from like a bunker somewhere, but we decided that wouldn't be a good idea. So with that, it gave us some time to actually really kind of evaluate how Q3 went as well. And honestly, just in general, I'm pretty excited about how everything's been going at Nucleus, just in general from the business. So we're going to start with some business updates, but feel free, if you have questions, to drop them in the chat. We're going to have a special dedicated section at the end specifically for Q&A. So if we don't see them before then, we'll answer them then. But with that, let's just jump right in. So just in general, I can't understate how exciting of a Q3 it's been. In 2022 in general, it's been really, really fantastic just in general. We're pretty excited about everything that's been going on, and that can only happen because of you guys, right? So as customers and our partners, you are the ones that basically make all of this possible, and because of that, we've been able to move extremely rapidly. Like it's almost insane to see how fast we've been moving. So first and foremost, we got some big news. Some of you may have seen it already. We're officially in progress in the FedRAMP marketplace. So we have been starting to partner with federal agencies and defense contractors and government organizations to deliver better modern vulnerability management practices to the federal government. And we officially have sponsorship, and we're going through the audit now. And we expect to be fully FedRAMP authorized within the next 8 to 12 months, which is fantastic, especially for a company of our size, right? So again, this is very exciting, but just we've been doing a lot, right? So I'm gonna jump through this quick, otherwise this will take 20 minutes. So first and foremost, we've also been we're the fastest growing vulnerability management company in 2022. Wow, you know, that wasn't a target that we had. It's been pretty crazy. We've had some extremely rapid growth in both customers and employee counts, and it's been honestly a pretty wild ride, and we're very appreciative of everybody who's on this ride with us, because again, this is very partnership focused, right? We really are focused on working with our partners and our customers to deliver and build kind of a wave that's gonna take the industry to the next level, right? Because we really feel that we need to make a difference in this industry around vulnerability management, because there's just all these problems that nobody else is really trying to solve. So thank you guys so much. Couldn't do it without you. But just to keep moving down the list, we were listed in 2 different Gartner hype cycles in Q3. We were awarded 6 different G2 awards, and we were included in a Forrester Wave with our partner Orange Cyber Defense in managed security service providers services around managed vulnerability management services. So we've been very busy from a business perspective, and it's very exciting. And a lot of that has helped to drive a lot of our product and the stuff that we're doing. So with that, that's the business stuff. But let's move on to what we're all really here for, which is product. And this is a slide that I wanted to add because, you know, in the last few times, we don't really give you a lot of ideas on how we think about product and how we think about our roadmap and our strategy. And so for Q3, I'm going to boil it down to what we tried to do and how we executed against that, because we're here to be as transparent as possible. And number one, first and foremost, with extremely rapid growth, what that means is that we've 10, 20, 100x all of the data that we're managing inside of Nucleus at any given time. So there's been a lot of work that we've had to do around resiliency to make sure that as we scale to huge volumes of data, we're up to billions and billions of vulnerabilities under management now, that we have a consistent performance and output. We didn't want there to be spikes of high performance and then spikes of troughs of lower performance where you're not able to ingest as quickly. And so we've been really working hard to make sure that we have consistent performance no matter the scale of our customers and no matter the number of customers and amount of assets that you have or anything like that, especially since we're now adding a whole bunch more data types that you can upload into Nucleus. That was something that was really important to us from a focus perspective. The second focus is innovation, right? We want to push the envelope of where we think vulnerability management should go. So we're working on all sorts of new, really cool stuff, which some of that we'll tell you about. But a lot of this is driven by customers, and so the third factor really is customer focus. So the way we view innovation is a partnership with customers and prospects and everybody else in the industry that can help us get to that next stage of where vulnerability management needs to go. And so these are the three core areas that we use to kind of, let's say, to inform how we're building our product and the focus that we're trying to deliver to, and the value we're trying to deliver through time, right? So, you'll see that we really put a lot of focus in this in the last quarter, and that's all great. But let's actually take a look at what we did. So first and foremost, I'm going to hand it over to Nixo to talk about the metric boatload of connectors that we updated and added. And we'll move on from there. So Nixo, over to you, man.
Awesome.
What have we been up to on the connector side?
Thanks, Scott. So connectors, a fundamental piece of Nucleus, and you can see here we have a handful of new connectors that we've added into Nucleus to get data in and out of Nucleus. And we've made a large number of enhancements to the existing pool of connectors as well. But to start with the new connectors that we've added, we've got a few in the AWS land, so I'll start there. We were excited in the last quarter to make the S3 connector available in the product. That allows users to push vulnerability and asset data from Nucleus into S3. And from there, users can send that data on to other third-party tools like Power BI, Snowflake, what have you. We're continuing to make the S3 connector quicker, lighter, more snappy. I think one of the most recent enhancements that we made was adding the ability to zip JSON files and just making the files smaller so that when you're exporting to third-party tools, it's faster and quicker. So that's S3, very excited about that. In the same vein, AWS Security Hub, we added the ability to ingest Inspector 2, ECR, and EC2 data into Nucleus. Hotly requested, and as we were going through and building this out, we kept in the back of our minds how complex and how sprawling these environments can be. So we really wanted to make ingestion easy. So we added the ability to ingest via aggregated regions and from the Security Hub administrator account as well. Moving on, we've added to the Sneak connector the ability to ingest from Sneak's infrastructure as code, their IAC endpoint. That allows users to use Sneak's IAC. They're usually looking at CloudFormation files, Terraform files, and scanning for configuration compliance issues, and that data is now all available and can be ingested into Nucleus via the Sneak IAC connector. We've also got Carbon Black that we added recently as well. So Carbon Black is, we're ingesting vulnerability data from Carbon Black into Nucleus, and a large number of metadata is available there as well. And finally, the new connector that we've added is Axonius. With Axonius, you can pull asset data from Axonius into Nucleus. And again, a large number of metadata that's available there as well. As I said, there's a large number of enhancements that we've made to existing connectors. Certainly too many to go over here in this forum, but one thing I wanted to mention that we wanted to mention is the ServiceNow app. We added vulnerability response support, so VR support to the ServiceNow app. Scott, anything to add to that?
Yep, gotta find the mute button. So yeah, obviously we've been have a big focus on connectors and data ingest. And one of the big pieces of feedback that we get from a lot of our customers is, hey, it's great that we have all this data, but there's some special widget thing that we use that's a whiz bang from Rapid7 or CrowdStrike or whatever, or hey, our ServiceNow team won't let us install or load vulnerability data into the incidents table. So in that spirit of collaboration, we made tons of these updates to just make the product a lot easier to use and faster in getting the right data so that we can inform decisions and do that at scale and all that sort of fun stuff you would expect. We're very excited about all of these connectors. I mean, we highlighted some of them, but we're like, I can't understate how excited we are about the utility that this brings to the platform, right? You're starting to see we're no longer just adding, you know, new types of Nessus data or new types of Qualys data. We're really starting to tie together more and more of the technology stack in ways that really make sense. Like, for example, the Security Hub addition to our connector list, right? So that's an incredible, it's incredible amount of value that we feel that brings to everybody, because, you know, if you've got 150, 200 AWS accounts, it's great that you can ingest from the EC2 service, but, you know, then you have to go set it up organization by organization, account by account, and it just becomes unwieldy at scale. So again, we're really thinking about how we help organizations scale and not spend all their time just, you know, trying to parse through data or figure out what, you know, the password is for X connector or whatever, right? So we're really focusing on how we can help organizations scale. And anyway, we're very excited. We actually, this is more connectors than we normally would update in a single quarter, but there's just been a lot of changes that we felt like were so valuable, from individual data types to enable additional use cases, right? So let's take an example of, let's look at AttackForge. We now ingest all the remediation notes from, and AttackForge, if you guys aren't aware, is a pen testing platform. So we now take in all the remediation notes. We take all the evidence that you upload, all the files you upload to AttackForge, and now those get uploaded to Nucleus as part of the ingest into Nucleus. We map all of the comments and all of the severities and all of the statuses now into Nucleus as well, right? So just additional enhancements like that to get more and more value out of these different tools that you have.
Nice. All right, so we've made tons of dashboard updates as well, starting here with the background tasks tray. If you're in a Nucleus project and you're looking at the top right controls corner, we added what we're calling a background task tray. And here we wanted to give users quick and actionable and easy insight into what's going on in the background of a project. So users can see things like when ingesting assets is happening, or when a report is scheduled or created, when ingesting a scan is happening. So users can see all these things, and they can quickly see if they have occurred successfully or if there's some sort of error. And if there's some sort of error, then users can quickly engage support to quickly troubleshoot what's going on. So quick insights here. We're really excited to just enable that. And yep, we've also got pin compliance findings. So in the compliance findings view within Nucleus, you can go in and you can pin findings in the grid, and they'll move up to the top. But beyond this like manual action, there are benefits from an automation perspective. So you can use pinned compliance findings within automation to do things like, if compliance finding is critical, pin, or if compliance finding is pinned, set due date to X, stuff like that. So we're really excited to enable use cases like that as well. And
hey, we have a question on this one. Is the background tasks tray visible for all users or limited to admin access?
So that is visible. It's visible.
Why not have?
No, we're gonna address that more at the end, Patrick. But it's available to all users. So it's inside of Nucleus. We called it the Kill the Spinner initiative. We used to have this little basically icon that would spin at the top of a Nucleus project to let you know that something was happening. And so that was confusing a lot of people because you had no idea what that actually meant, right? Did it mean we're ingesting data? Did it mean a report was generating? So you see basically what you have access to, right? If you don't have access to reports, you're not going to see any background tasks related to reports. If you don't have access to automation, you're not going to see any tasks related to automation, right? So it's just scoped to what you can see. But that way, like, hey, if I made a change, or if I'm an admin, I'm ingesting data, I can see what ingests are currently ingesting. I can see, are we recalculating trends? Because oftentimes you just want to be aware that, hey, the data that we're seeing right now, it's in the middle of calculations, and 2 minutes from now it's going to update, right? And the reason we did this is because we believe in real-time data, or as close to real-time data as we can get. So, like, for example, with trends, we don't want it to be calculated every 24 hours. We want it to be calculated every time new data comes into the platform. So anyway, yeah, I can go off on. I can talk about any of these for 30 minutes. So
sweet. Hey, and thanks for reminding me. So I'll keep track of Q&A, and we'll do it towards the end.
Nice.
So awesome.
Very cool. Well, we've also got we've added the ability to access assets from the global dashboard. So if you're in the global dashboard looking at the assets tab, you can quickly navigate to an asset by clicking on it. And with this, we wanted to empower quickly navigating to like the assets that matter to you. So quickly navigating to what matters the most to you. We've made a ton of filter updates, and we like adding like filter updates and filter options because it's a tangible way to drill down into the data and look at the data that matters most to you. So we've done things like added a filter to the asset management page, so you can filter that page by business owner teams. We've added filter options to the reports list, the tickets page, and the import history page. So we're really excited about that, and we're going to continue to add more like filter options as well. We've made a lot of API enhancements as well. We're really excited about the ability to query by Mandiant threat intelligence fields. That one's awesome. The finding search endpoints, you can now specify like a specific date for gathering that data. And we added data uploaded via API on the import via file page as well.
Hopefully you guys are starting to see a theme of what we're trying to do here, right? It's trying to enable more data, more access to what's going on, and more transparency, right? We're really trying to focus on those quality of life enhancements that are really going to make the app more usable, while at the same time innovating and allowing you guys to solve those use cases that can really make a difference in your organization, especially at scale, right? So even, for example, let's take the Mandiant threat feed data being thrown into the S3 bucket, right? You now have the ability to, in a data lake or data warehouse or wherever you want to take that data downstream, because again, it's your data, we believe it's your data. You can now build any sort of reporting that you want. You can overlay other scores on it, and then now you can start consolidating all that together and reporting and pivoting on different fields, but it's now all normalized into a single place. You can search it via the API, right? It's all these things to allow you to start really scaling your organization and the processes there. So with that, we've got more dashboard updates because we've been very busy. So some other things that we did is we're consistently making updates to our automation engine to make it faster, better. As a lot of you know, we're building towards a much fuller kind of trigger-based automation workflow engine. So we're continually laying the groundwork to add more and more options, and eventually we're gonna scale it out into a full kind of automation engine that everybody will just be blown away by, guaranteed. But so in the meantime, what we've been working on is we've added some additional types of enhancements to automation. So now all of the asset fields. So when I say all of the asset fields, I'm talking about all of the asset metadata fields. So all of the asset metadata fields were originally only available in asset type automation rules, right? Because the idea being that you are making changes to assets, and so you want to have the asset information available. What we did is we added all asset fields to basically all of our automation rule templates. So finding processing rules, ticketing rules, notification rules. So now you have the ability to filter and pivot and take action on any sort of weird, I use the term weird, but any sort of weird field that you guys are using to make decisions on. You now can build that into the automation rules within Nucleus. Because again, we're starting to standardize towards that longer, bigger pipeline, right? The other thing that we did is we finally, after many years of trying to get this prioritized, is we've finally added the ability to filter by scan source on assets. Now, this is super useful because we already track scan coverage on the asset inventory page. So you can go in and see, hey, how many of my assets have been scanned within a period of time? How many of my assets, have never been scanned, or how many of my assets have been scanned by CrowdStrike but not by Nessus, right? So this answers that question. We've added filtering for it. Now all of the metrics on the assets page filters by this as well. So if you filter by show me all of my assets that were scanned by Prisma, you get that scan coverage bar. You get all of your asset list. You can basically see where all of your assets came from, right? It's again more visibility into what's showing up in the platform, being able to know, hey, what metadata do I have on all of these assets? So you can really quickly go in and see, hey, what assets have only been ingested from Nessus, but should have also have a CrowdStrike agent on them. Why aren't we ingesting that? Why aren't we scanning that to get more data, more coverage, all that sort of fun stuff? One thing that's kind of interesting to note here. So if you integrate with if you integrate with an asset management system like Axonius, we actually can piggyback off of all of the sources from Axonius as well. So Axonius aggregates assets from, 300 or so different connectors that they have. We can actually take all that and we can say, oh, great, showed up in BigFix, showed up in SCCM, showed up in their, CrowdStrike into Axonius. So we actually can piggyback off of Axonius and pull in all of the locations and sources that it shows up in an upstream tool, not just the tools that Nucleus is directly connected with. Again, trying to figure out how we can provide more value, more context, specifically with vulnerability data. And then as a security company, of course, we would be remiss if we weren't constantly working on our own security and making things better and providing more options for our customers to be more secure. So we added a whole bunch of features around that. And it is in no way inspired by the fact that we're going through our FedRAMP audit. But we've added support for encrypted SAML across all of our customers. So now, before it was just regular SAML, now you can specify which one you'd like to use. So for certain more secure environments, obviously a great requirement there. We now added support for setting inactive user timeouts. So you can define as a customer how long you want your timeout to be. So right now in Nucleus, it's set by a Nucleus administrator, and you can request to have it changed in support or with your TAM. But we wanted to make that accessible because we felt like it was a little bit ridiculous to have to ask somebody to just change the user inactivity timeout. So we added that and made that available to you. We also updated the permissions that inactive users have and sort of how that functions. So like, for example, we now make it very clear that if you deactivate a user, you cannot hit the API. So, if you're hitting the API with that user, it's not going to work anymore, right? So there was just some confusion around that. So we updated the way that worked to be basically more secure, so that there would be no questions around what happens if a user goes inactive, or if they get timed out or anything like that. And then finally, we added the ability to disable user accounts after a period of days. So it's like if a user hasn't logged in 30 days, we want to deactivate their account so that they have to then go and ask one of your org admins to be able to re-enable them, right? So if you're a government agency or you do work with the federal government and you have these types of requirements, you can then do those same types of secure requirements and compliance requirements for your vendors. In this case, would be us. So we've been doing a lot around security, and we're going to continue to do so. But we're starting to now make it easier and elevate sort of your compliance requirements and those types of things as well. And that's what we've worked on. So we worked on a ton of stuff in Q3. We spent 20 minutes basically just going through that. So let's start talking about, again, like refocusing on the future, because that's, again, I think what a lot of us are really here to talk about. And realistically, again, I'm just this is a quick reminder that obviously we've done a lot of this stuff. If any of you guys have been in the last few roadmap webinars, you know that we don't cover everything that we're going to do. We have a lot of stuff in today's presentation that we did not talk about in the last roadmap webinar. These are the things that we think about kind of at the big rock level, if you guys are familiar with that TED Talk. So these are what we're going to focus on kind of as our main big initiatives. And then we're obviously going to fit additional things inside and in between and continue to focus on customer requests, right? So number one, we're going to continue to focus on stability, right? As we scale and as our customers scale and as the use cases get bigger and broader and wider, we want to make sure that all of the little crevices of the app that everybody is using is working all the time with no issues. So that's just a big focus that we have. So we're going to continue to address the resiliency of the platform. What happens if a connector changes their data format on us completely? Those types of things. We're building teams and we're building focus around making sure that we're much more proactive about that. So just a stability in general. You can even think of that as a little bit less of a product specific thing and more just in general. We're making sure that we understand how critical of an application we have become to a lot of our customers around decision making, real-time data, presenting to the board, those types of decisions and questions. So we want to make sure that we appreciate that in the way that we focus on the resiliency of the platform, so you can trust the data and make sure that everything is what you're expecting. So that's number one. Number two, something that I'm very excited about is we have been doing a lot of research, a lot of thinking, a little bit of back and forth with customers and prospects, and we decided that we wanted to make the UI a little bit more friendly, right? So the app Nucleus was created by a bunch of engineers, and we solve a boatload of problems, and we do a great job of it. And we've always focused on making sure that the app works and focusing on speed. Like, I don't think anybody can beat us on speed, right? So that's what we're really focused on. And over the last two quarters, we've also been starting to think about how we can make the app more usable, right? So not having to click 5 times to do an action, stuff like that, right? What are all of our common use cases that our customers have, making those more accessible and easy? And so what we decided is that we needed to actually make a few changes to our UX, and we're redefining our baseline template for the application. And any of our customers that are interested in getting a little sneak peek, reach out to your technical account manager or your customer success manager, and we're absolutely happy to share that with you for feedback. But what we're doing and the real purpose of it is to enable what we're trying to do from a function and feature perspective. So we're making some UI and UX tweaks and enhancements, some relatively major ones. We're going to do it in stages, so it won't all be, just like, hey, you log in one day and it's all different. But it's going to, we believe, enhance your user experience pretty dramatically. But what that enables, and why we're so excited about it, is that it enables us to do essentially what we've been trying to do for and been building up to in the last 6 months, which is access control inside of Nucleus projects, as well as saved filters inside of Nucleus projects, and the ability to do restricted views inside of Nucleus projects. So we want to use the new UX to enable us to build the additional capabilities that we want in a way that's much more user-friendly, right? If we wanted to do it now, we could do it, but it would just probably be a little bit confusing. And so we felt like it was worth the ability to go in and make that super accessible, super easy, super clear, easy for everybody to understand, because obviously power users are not the only users that are logging into Nucleus. There's also the regular users that just need to go get their data, and they don't really care about all of the other pages and all of the cool data, analysis and stuff that we provide. They just want to be able to go pull their one report. And so in order to enable that, we're setting up a new UX framework and then rolling out phase 1 of access control in projects this quarter. And then phase 2 is going to start in Q1 of next year, right? So that's kind of what we're working on, is sort of our big rocks and sort of the big initiative through the end of this year. And I'm going to leave it to Nixo here to talk about the last cool stuff that we're doing as well, because we're, like I said, we're moving pretty rapidly. We're doing a lot of stuff. We're scaling up, and I think we're developing pretty much 24/7 now. So we're always moving, guys.
Awesome. So we've got the ability to add filters to the trends report. So that's whenever you add filters in the console, ensuring that they carry over into the trends report. And this was actually released yesterday. I mean, Patrick mentioned that we had the hurricane come in last week. So we had this on here and figured we'd keep it on here. So technically released as of yesterday, but we're really excited about that one. And kind of in the same vein, we want to add more filter options to the trends page. For example, we want to be able to filter the entire trends page by source, or if a user wants to see just trends based on vulnerabilities that are exploitable, things like that. Again, really excited about that. And then obviously we've got more connectors. Connectors are fundamental here at Nucleus, as I mentioned before. So we're going to continue to enhance existing connectors and add new connectors. We've got sneak updates coming up, a security scorecard connector, and many more.
Cool. And that's it, guys. As far as we made it in half an hour. It's always my target, and hopefully this was super useful to you guys. Always open to feedback on how we can make this presentation better. Obviously this is for you. This is not for me. Obviously, I talk about product all the time, probably in my sleep. So, I haven't asked, but I probably talk about it in my sleep. So in this case, if you have questions, definitely reach out here. You're more than welcome to reach out to your customer success manager, Tam, as I mentioned before, or me, and we're absolutely happy to answer any questions that you have. But are there any questions right now that we can answer for you for the class that maybe other people would be interested in as well?
Hey, well, while we're waiting for some Q&A, I was just going to mention too, towards the end of this month, we're going to have a webinar that will be, and my headset died. Sorry.
We can still hear you if that helps, Patrick. And you are muted, by the way. Oh, perfect. I can answer some questions. So, yeah, great. So first thing, FedRAMP authorization. So we're actually going through our audit as we speak. We have a target date of March 1st, 2023 to be when we're fully authorized. It's going to be at the moderate level. But, obviously with FedRAMP and the GSA and all that sort of fun stuff, it could push a little bit, but that's still our target. And that's our target as of, going through the audit right now. So that's what we're looking at as far as our FedRAMP authorization. Now, as far as there was another question, FedRAMP authorization. And then Prisma connector. Yes. So the Prisma connector updates, we've been making a lot of Prisma connector updates. There's two that are probably the most interesting to most folks. The first is we actually changed the way that the import via all methodology works for all of the container image, the deployed images and hosts. So now we actually import that much more rapidly, right? So think about like instead of 4 hours, it's like 1 hour to ingest all of that data. And so we were able to do that through some tweaks to the way that we were ingesting those specific assets. And we were able to make some additional assumptions based on the data that we were getting that made it actually just a lot faster to ingest, number one, which is always great. Love moving faster. It's my favorite thing. The second thing is we actually updated the way that we mark discovered dates on vulnerabilities for certain scenarios. So the scenario that we were trying to capture was a situation where you're doing your own container image development on different container image repositories. And so when you think about a container image repository and you're doing development on it, it's a lot like a code repository, right? You have your tags, but your tags are in a lot of ways like branches. And so we wanted to be able to support branching in a much more robust way. And so basically what we did is previously, if you have a deployed image and then you get rid of that image and you have a new version of the image, we would mark two different finding instances, and we would say, hey, great, there's two finding instances, but they're different, right? So on the first one and the second one, the first one would go away, the second one would come in, but the discovered date would be the date that the new image was deployed. So what we changed was saying, hey, these are actually, this is a newer version of the same image. And so we're going to link back to the original discovered date of the original image. And so your discovered date on the new vulnerability is actually going to be based on the initial time that actual vulnerability showed up in a previous version of the image. So those are the two big changes that we made for Prisma Cloud Connector. And that was I got very like off in the weeds there. But if you have any questions about it or additional questions, happy to address those. Well, sweet, everybody. Oh, how we handle SLAs on ephemeral assets. Perfect. Okay. Look at that. Pre-answered a question. Not as rusty as we thought. Sweet, everybody. Well, thank you very much for coming to our product webinar, and we'll see you all again before the end of the year when we talk about what we did in Q4 and what we're shooting on. And again, appreciate every one of you. Thank you for trusting us with your data and with your vulnerabilities. Now, feature requests are always welcome. Thank you guys for joining us, and looking forward to the next one. Take care.
Thanks so much. Thanks, Nick. Thanks, Scott.